Well, good evening, everybody. I am going to go ahead and record this for those who might not be able to make it this evening. I am going to start off by turning it over to Chris Berger, who is one of the meet directors. Chris, if you want to take it away.
Good evening, everybody. Let me start by saying thank you for taking time on this Sunday evening in the holiday weekend to give us a little bit of time to go over the technical information for the meeting. Hopefully this will take less than, I'd say, 45 minutes or less, and we'll give an opportunity for questions at the end. This meeting will serve as our coaches meeting for the entire weekend. We will only call a coaches meeting if necessary to discuss possible changes, alterations to timeline, anything like that. So thanks again, and I hope you have a great 4th of July, so I don't forget to say that later. Going to dive right in. I'll be your meet director along with Derek and Mandy Arnold. You'll see us floating around throughout the weekend. I want to go through an agenda for you. Today, we're going to talk about the facility layout. We're going to talk about parking, communication, weather, warm-up schedule. We'll give you the warm-up lane assignments this evening. We're going to give Troy an opportunity to go through the technical information, the timeline. I think he's going to cover the meet ref information as well. And then we'll give you an opportunity to ask us any questions you have. So this is our layout. For most of you, this will be familiar, whether you've either been to our Enchanted Forest meets in the past, or if you attended our outdoor age group state championship that we hosted a few years ago. I'm briefly going to go through the points on the map just to cover them so that hopefully there will be no questions, just for ease. Let's start on the left side of the map. You'll have spectator seating. We will have bleachers again this year. All spectators will enter and exit through the gate on the left side of the building. Spectator restrooms, as well as your restrooms, will be here on the left-hand side of the building. We'll ask that you have all swimmers dropped off in the circle drive. It's going to be very tough for parents to pull in this drive, drop off, and then try to pull back through. In the same area as we've typically had down in this lower left, there'll be vendors. We'll have bubble tea again. We'll have Ellsmore for your equipment needs. We'll also have our engraver on site. So encourage your kids to take their medals out there. The awards will be handed out there as well. But encourage your kids, if they've got medals from the past, from short course that they want to bring and get engraved, that they are welcome to do that. He is eager to handle all of that for them. Moving on, locker rooms are in the center of the building. Those will be specific to the kids. Adults will not be allowed in there. The admin table will be seated directly outside of the control room office where this blue star is. Looking at the competition pool itself, all 100+ starts will start on the south end of the pool, and we'll have yellow tents there with all of our timers. All 50 starts will start on the north end of the pool. We will once again have coaches row. I realize now that green lettering is not so great on the concrete, but we will have coaches row again. We'll talk about the tents there, but basically we're going to provide the tents for you so you don't have to worry about that. Moving over to swimmer coaches officials entrance. You'll enter through the gates on the right-hand side of the building, and then just about where the building ends is where we'll have our check-in tents for coaches, officials. Our volunteers will also be coming through there. Swimmers will come through there, and Troy is going to talk about the check-in process here in a little bit. The baby pool will be open, so that is off limits for any kind of camping. So it will be open to spectators. There is a fee for that, but the pool will have that open. Clerk of course will be in the same spot that it's been last year. We'll have tents over here and we'll have mats on the floor for the kids to help line them up. Troy's going to talk about clerk of course a little bit later. The one change to the map is you'll see the first aid tent is here. That will be moved up here. There is a deck that will be the lifeguards deck, and the first aid station will be moved up there. It's nice when if a kid gets hurt or if we have something to get them away from competition into a covered area, so that'll be up there. Obviously the diving well, we'll talk about warm-ups in a little bit, but that'll be open and available. There will be no camping behind the diving well, kind of in this concrete area. You may use that for warm up to swim and calisthenics, stretching, that kind of thing, but there'll be no camping back there. Our hospitality will be in the normal area where we've had it in the past. There will be a section to the north that will have a white tent where you'll be able to get your food as well as be seated under tent if you like. And then in this lower area, we'll have picnic tables and some seating. You can take chairs and set chairs up there as well, but that will be open for those of you that like sunbathing. Last but not least will be the camping area. Swimmer and coach and camping area will be out here in the grass area. We're going to talk a little bit more about that when we talk about parking. You are able to bring tents and set tents up there. You cannot pay to have tents set up there though, but we'll talk about that as well in a little bit. I'm ready, Troy. I guess I should say, are there any questions about the layout? I guess I should ask that question. Any questions about the layout? Perfect, moving right along. Let's talk about the facility, go into a little bit more details about the tents and chairs. Again, like I said, we'll be providing coaches row again this year. We'll have tents the whole way down on the side of the pool, so you don't have to worry about fighting for space. We found that to be just an awesome way to make it easy for everyone. I know that last year there was, we rode the line of please don't sit in that area. We're not going to do that this year. If you want to sit in that area, that's fine. What we will ask you to do though is, if you are going to set up a chair there and sit there, that's fine. But when your swimmers are done competing and after they have come and they have talked to you about their swims, please send them on. Don't let them camp out there. Please have them go back to the camping area and out of that coach's row so that it is open and available for people to walk up and down as they want. We also try to do that because the kids really crouch in on that officials line and it makes it very hard for the officials. So just sending them back out of the tents would be fantastic. That grass area back by the hospitality will be wide open for anybody to go and sit. The kids can sit, you can sit, there'll be picnic tables they can sit at. We'll have Gatorade jugs back there for them to refill their water bottles as well. You can bring, as I mentioned, you can bring tents to set up in the camping area for you and your swimmers. You will only be allowed to set tents up in that camping area. And the next bullet point is probably the most important bullet point that I've got for this entire slideshow. You will be the only ones allowed to do that. Inevitably, every year we have a parent that tries to sneak through to set up the tent or just argues with us and just, I have to set it. I was given this responsibility. I'm team mom, I'm team dad. We understand that. Just please plan ahead and just be prepared to do it yourself. Designate a coach on your staff that will be solely for the purpose of doing that. And we're going to talk about when they can get in, timeline a little bit later in the presentation, but only you and your coaches will be allowed in that area. You all know how USA Swimming is about the secured deck, and that is considered part of our secured deck. Troy, can you go back to the layout for me? In this area right over here where the drive comes around, we'll have a deck marshal stationed there because we don't even want anyone trying to come around here to do it, because unfortunately we've had that in the past. So please just plan ahead and just be prepared for a coach on your staff to do it. Go ahead, Troy. All right, please help us keep that area clean. Just have your kids clean up at the end of each session. It is greatly appreciated. The facility is kind enough to have their lifeguards there. Their long days, and the last thing they want to do is come through there at the end of the day and have to clean up all the trash and food and, you know, banana peels and everything else. So it's not hard. Please just have your kids clean up so that we don't have to worry about that at the end of the day, and in particular at the end of the event on Sunday night. Please remind your families that they will not be allowed to bring tents in to the spectator area. They may bring chairs. There is ample space out in the park that if they want to set up tents and relax and then walk in and see the swims and walk back out, that they can by all means do that. We've had a lot of teams do that in the past, but we will not allow any kind of tents or large umbrellas of any kind into that spectator area. Also, please remind your families, the facility, we follow the facility guidelines, and the facility guidelines are no pets, no alcohol, no tobacco, no vaping or e-cigarettes. Go ahead, Troy. Parking, let's talk about parking. So there's a lot going on in the park this weekend coming up. And so parking is expected to be full. So for that reason, I'm going to tell you, arrive early, be there early. However, please hang out in your car. It's air conditioned there anyway. Please hang out in your car until it's time to enter the gates. The gates will open for each session 30 minutes before the warm-up begins. On Friday, we will open the gates 1 hour prior to warm-ups to coaches only, and that will allow you to get in, have time to set up your tents, get situated, and then we'll let the kids in at the 30-minute point. In the afternoon, so the transition from morning to afternoon and from afternoon to finals, we're going to ask you the same thing, to remind your families to wait to come until 30 minutes before the start of warm-ups, because when we have all the kids in that back spectator area or camping area, and then all the afternoon, all our, you know, our younger kids show up for the afternoon session, the deck just becomes overwhelmingly full. And for safety purposes and for emergency vehicle access, we're just going to ask them, please wait until that 30-minute point. A reminder that coaches may not park in that rear area, that camping area that we talked about. I know that years ago we used to allow coaches to go back there for convenience and park, but with that being our camping area and that being a secured area, we will restrict that for the meet staff and for the facility staff. So please do not try to drive around that backside and park. And I would please communicate this to all of your coaches, because I don't want to have to mid-meet tell a coach to move their car. It's just there are more important things to focus on. Go ahead. All right. Communication. Troy has created 2 separate GroupMe chats. This is the QR code for the coaches. Please do not provide this to your parents. This is for coaches only. We will use this to communicate changes with you. I'm sure that Troy will use it for a variety of things, but this is for you only. I will have a copy of this to post at the coaches sign-in tables. And while I mention that, I'll remind you that between sessions, if you're staying, if you don't leave the facility and come back, you do have to go back and sign in again for each session. But I'll have a copy of this at the sign-in table so that you can scan it. But again, please do not share this with your swimmers or your parents. This is the one for your spectators, swimmers. We'll use this to announce weather changes, updates, those kinds of things. We'll have a copy of this on the spectator side for them. I would not worry about you. I wouldn't try to like snap a picture of it or anything now and share it. We'll get this to them as they're coming through and they're paying at admissions. Let's talk about weather. For those of you that have been at the facility before, you know that there is a lightning detection system installed at the facility. For those of you that have not, there is between the baseball field and the pool, there is a light that will blink and a siren that will go off, letting us know that there is lightning within a certain distance. I can't remember if it's 10 miles or 12 miles. I can't remember. In the event of thunder, the lifeguards will clear the pool for 30 minutes. In the event of lightning, the lifeguards will clear the pool deck for 30 minutes. In the event of lightning, I guess next bullet, the lifeguards will make that call. Don't try to, tell your kids to get out of the pool. If they're mid-race and the system goes off, we've given very specific directions to the lifeguards on how to handle those situations based on swimmers in the water. Let them handle that. Let the staff facilitate that. You focus on getting all of your other kids that are not currently in the water into safe space. As far as that goes, spectators will go to their cars. Swimmers and coaches may go to the locker rooms. You may also go to your cars, and we'll communicate to you via the group chat. Some kids' parents will want their kids to go with them in case they decide to leave, and that's okay. But we will not allow parents back in until the facility tells us that we are allowed to. For those of you that have been there in the past, we've had parents run on the deck and then tents fly, and it's not fair to put the facility staff or our volunteers in danger for that. So we will follow the facility's guidelines. And again, they make that decision when they decide that it's okay to re-enter the deck or re-enter the pool, then we'll do so. And we'll do so as quickly as possible. Here are your warm-up lane assignments. I am not going to read them off. You can find your team. They will remain the same throughout the weekend for all sessions. The lanes are all averaged out to have an approximate equal number of swimmers. This will allow all teams to warm up in the competition pool. The diving well will be open the entire time. So I would encourage you to have some of your swimmers start in the diving well and then rotate those into your lane and switch. That way you can get kids get them stroke and warm up and get the muscles moving and that kind of thing. But then for distance and, to get them used to the outdoor pool and the competition pool, then bring them over and go ahead and get them in there. We also ask that you all work together, that you've been doing this for a long time. Please work together to balance the lanes. So there will be sessions where, you might have a team that in one session they have 40 swimmers and in another session they have 25. So balance that out and amongst yourselves, and we're okay with that. What we don't want is Johnny said, I can't do this. Susie said, I can't do that. Or, Jimmy's in our lane and he shouldn't be. Just please work together. Turn it back over to Troy.
All right. Good evening again. I will try not to take up too much of your time. When I get through all of the updates tomorrow, and I would like to have all those preferably by noon, I will be sending out an email to each team. In that email will be a link to the recording of the meeting tonight. It'll also include your entry fee. It'll include links to those group me's that you can send out to your families if they want to go ahead and get signed up. So we'll have a lot of information in that email, and that will go out probably sometime tomorrow evening. Real quick, I'm going to go over the timeline our scratch procedure, how we're going to do positive check-in. I'll talk a little bit about the 1500, and then I will also be covering the meet referee portion. So our timelines, this is the estimate based on the current entries. I do not anticipate that this will change significantly, but once I get all those updates in tomorrow, I will include a full session report. You can see on here that our Friday afternoon and evening are roughly 3 hours plus or minus 15 minutes, not including the mile. As of right now, we have 2 heats of girls and 3 heats of boys in the mile. So we anticipate that lasting about 2 hours. And then our Sunday mornings and Saturday and Sunday morning sessions are roughly 4.5 hours. The afternoon sessions are roughly 4 hours, and then finals are about 2 hours. And these are all pre-scratch. So I'm just going to go ahead. I didn't make up separate slides. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're going to do for scratches. So if you know of any specific events that swimmers want to scratch, or if you have any full meet scratches after the update deadline at noon tomorrow, if you could just go ahead and you can email those to me by noon on Thursday. So if it's anything after noon on Thursday, just please come to the admin table at the meet and do it there, because after noon on Thursday, I will be setting up and not really on email. So you can go ahead and email those. There is not a penalty for swimmers that miss swims during prelims, but if you would like to declare a false start just to let us know that maybe they're not going to be there, you can do that. You can do that with the deck referee. You can do that at the admin table, either one, just as a courtesy. But again, there's no penalty for no shows. In terms of our positive check-in, we will have positive check-in for all sessions except for finals on Saturday and Sunday. For finals, if swimmers do not scratch, we assume that they will be there to swim. For all the other sessions, how we are going to do positive check-in this year, when you come to the meet at the beginning of the session and you sign in and show your credentials, we are going to ask that you pick up an athlete roster that we will have there for you. And it will have all of your swimmers that are entered in that specific session. And then sometime, probably maybe 10 minutes after the start of warm-ups, we would ask that you turn that in at the admin table and draw a line through any swimmers that you know are not there. So this is different than how we've done it in the past. It's different than how we've said in the meet announcement. Instead of having the swimmers actually highlight their name, we're going to try and kind of get rid of that bottleneck. I know it puts a little bit more burden on the coaches, but we think this might go a little bit smoother. So just remember to pick that up and then turn that in. And we will announce when the deadline is, but it'll probably be 10 minutes after warm-ups. We'd like to have those. If swimmers are running late, maybe have them text you, have their parents text you, or maybe text a teammate just to let you know that they are coming but are running late. If for some reason a swimmer shows up after you have already turned that in, you can come up and let us know at the admin table. You can send the swimmer up and let us know. And if we haven't seated yet, we'll go ahead and get them in. If we've already seated and started printing the heat sheets, we will still get them in. We will try and look for an open lane in their event, or maybe the event after theirs. But that's how we are going to handle positive check-in this year. For the 1500, we will have a separate positive check-in, and that will be at the admin table. So if you have a swimmer that is in the mile, we would ask that you come up by 6:30 on Friday evening and actually highlight their name and sign them in to let us know. And then if we see that there's some names not signed in, we will announce and have coaches come over, because we want to confirm that all of those swimmers are there. So it's be a separate check-in for the 1500 on Friday evening. For that 1500, we are asking that swimmers provide not only their own lap counter, but also a timer. So we'd like to have a timer. If it's another swimmer or a coach, that's great. If it is a parent, that's fine. What we would ask is that that parent go, starting the heat prior to their swimmer, around the front of the building over to the coach and check-in entrance. They will sign in. That will get them on deck with a volunteer credential. They can go time for their swimmer, and then as soon as their swimmer's event is done, we would ask that they turn and go back off deck. So we are asking each swimmer to provide a lap counter and a lane timer for the 1500. That 1500 is seated fastest to slowest. It will alternate heats by gender. And if, as of right now, we have 2 heats of girls and 3 heats of boys, I don't know if that'll change or not, but we may consolidate and go to a mixed heat depending on any final scratches I get. On your entry fees, if you could submit those when you sign in at the meet on the first day, there will be somebody there that can actually collect your check. If you want to mail it, that's perfectly fine. The mailing address is on our website, or you can email me and let me know, but they will collect that when you sign in. So I'm going to move on. The meet referee is Alicia Antonetti Tricker, also known as Mrs. Tricker, or my wife. She is on a vacation in Mexico, so I'm going to cover for her. She is due back Wednesday night and should be at the meet. We are going to have flyover starts for all sessions except the Saturday and Sunday finals. So please ask your swimmers that at the completion of their event, if they could immediately exit the pool except for during the 50s. So in the 50s, as soon as they finish, they'll want to hop out. For all their events, please ask them to stay in the water. If we have any swim offs, we are going to swim off 10th place, 11th place, 20th, 21st, and 22nd. So at the admin table, if you have a swimmer that is tied, please make sure that you check before they leave the meet to make sure they do not need to have a swim off. For finals, if a swimmer is a qualifier for finals, but they do not wish to swim, please make sure that they scratch, and they will be doing that at the admin table, or if you want to call it the clerk of course or the scratch table. We will also have a form there, so if a swimmer qualifies for final, they know they qualified for finals, but the results have not been announced yet, they can just go ahead and write down their name and their event and leave if they choose, and we will take care of getting them scratched once results are available. But do please ask your swimmers to make sure that they are scratching. We do sometimes, especially on Saturday, go pretty late. Go pretty deep into the results to fill the heats. We want full heats. There are a lot of swimmers that would like to get a second swim, so please make sure they do that. We will make a best effort to send out via the coaches group me a notification for any swimmers that are scratched into finals. So again, it's a best effort, but we won't announce post scratch results, but we will try and send that out via the group me. And once those events are seated, they will also be in Meet Mobile. If you have an alternate for finals, please ask them to report to the starter area CJ, and we will allow alternates to swim in the A finals if there is an open lane, but it will be as an exhibition swim, meaning it would be non-scored. But again, we want to get as many swimmers an opportunity for second swim as we can. So if the B finals is full, but there's an opening in the lane finals, we will slide them into that open lane. It would just be as a exhibition swim, so they would still get an official time. They just would not be awarded or scored for that event. On the backstroke ledges, we have Colorado backstroke ledges, and they will be installed on the south end of the pool. So those will be available for the 100 and 200 backstroke events, except for the 10 and unders. We would prefer that the 10 and unders not use those. They're not allowed to use them at the age group state meet. So we would prefer that just be for the 11 and over swimmers. There will not be ledges this year for the north end. That would be for the 11 and 1250 backstroke. What we found last year is that really none of the swimmers ended up using them. So instead of putting those in, we're just not going to have them for that event. We would encourage you, if your swimmers have not seen these, to make sure that they are practicing with them and they know how to use them during warm-ups. The Colorado is a self-retracting backstroke ledge. The swimmer pulls down on the lever, pulls the backstroke ledge where they want it, and then they push forward on the lever to lock it in. So please, if they intend to use those, make sure they know how to do that prior to their event. On DQs, we at least currently anticipate we should have enough officials to notify the swimmers or coaches, but it is possible, depending on the specific session, that we may not get around to that. So watch, all the results will be posted to Meet Mobile. If you have a question about a disqualification, the meet referee will typically be seated at the announcer table. You can go talk to her. You can come talk to somebody at the admin table, and we will get you in touch with the deck referee that can answer any specific questions that you have on that DQ. As far as courtesy rest, we really do not anticipate it being an issue at this meet, but if you do have a concern, please let the meet referee know. We will make sure that swimmers aren't getting at least, roughly 12 minutes between their events. And then one other thing I don't have on the slide here, but if you have a swimmer that has any type of special needs, if you could please let me know that by noon on Thursday, we will make sure that we accommodate them. So if you have a swimmer that is hearing impaired, if you have a paraswimmer and there's anything that we can do to help accommodate them, just let me know. And then, the last thing I really have is we would certainly appreciate the help of any officials that you have with your club. This is a big meet. This meet has been approved as an officials qualifying meet or an OQM. So if you have officials that maybe aspire to get some mentoring or might be interested in a national certification, they can do that at this meet. They just need to let me know ahead of time so that we can make sure that they meet all those prerequisites, but we would be happy to help them with that. That is all I have. So if there are any questions for me or any questions for Chris at this point, go ahead. You can unmute, you can type it in the chat, let us know.
Hey, Troy, before you do that, clerk of course.
Oh, yeah, well, so there, Chris put on there that we are going to have a clerk of course that is going to be used specifically for the 10 and under swimmers. So in the afternoon session, when their event is announced, the announcer will ask them to report to the clerk of course instead of reporting to the blocks. And the clerk of course will actually escort them down to their, to the blocks.
All right, Troy, there was a question in the chat that asked, do you want scratches just through email or a whole new file?
If you have anything by noon tomorrow, a new file would be great, because that way that noon tomorrow is kind of the update deadline, and that means that when I send you your entry fee report, it will reflect whatever is in that update. So if it's before noon tomorrow, a new file would be preferred. If it's after noon tomorrow, you can just send me an email.
One last reminder, the meet apparel deadline is tonight at midnight. So that store is still open. You should have gotten that link in one of Troy's earlier emails that came out. You might want to send that out to your parents tonight, just as a last chance. I think right now we're sitting at 97 pieces sold. So we will have limited inventory on site for meet apparel for the kids. Or yourself, I guess, but you might just send out a last minute reminder of meet apparel to be available.
And I did interrupt you for one second, Chris. I did make one other note here as we were going through the slides. So if you were here at the meet last year, you may not have been able to necessarily hear all of the announcements in the camping area. That issue should be resolved. So when the scoreboard or the video board was installed, some of the wires were cut that led to some of the speakers that are back in that area. Those have since been repaired. So any place that you set up back in that swimmer and team camping area, you should now be able to hear the announcer.
Okay, we want to get out as much information to you as we can in as quick, brief a meeting as possible, and be conscious of your time and your weekend. 27 teams and a few unattached swimmers, so we are really excited. We are in our sweet spot as far as the number of swimmers and timelines. So this is an opportunity for you. Any of you that you have additional questions, go ahead. You can unmute or you can drop them in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them. If you don't have any additional questions, we are finished. So go ahead. If you got any questions, go ahead.
For scratching for finals, is it a 30-minute limit after the event has finished?
Yeah, so that is correct. We are following the national scratch procedures. So there will be a 30-minute deadline, but we also do recognize this is not a national or even an LSC championship level meet. So if for some reason that deadline has passed and you do become aware of a swimmer that is not going to be at finals, please let us know so that we can work to make sure that we are filling those empty lanes. But at 30 minutes is when we will typically pull the scratch sheets and start working towards seeding for finals. But if something happens after that, we will still take care of it.
Okay.
Right.
we appreciate your time and again, taking a couple of minutes away on the holiday weekend. We'll be monitoring the weather over the next few days. Pool temp right now is right where we want it, so we are good there. What is in the chat? Oh, thank you for the info and all the effort. You are very welcome, and we're excited to have all of you there. We look forward to it, and we will see you Friday, late morning. Have a happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, guys.